What on earth is this? Gabe forgot to record himself saying the title of the channel, so now we're stuck with my stupid AI voice. Great start to Season 2.
I don't know about you, but I've seen a massive increase in the number of holiday destinations, particularly in Europe, that people will say to avoid because they're simply too crowded.
Maybe it's nostalgia, or maybe it's the fact that I was an idiot child with no spatial awareness. But when I used to go on holidays in like the 90s, even to some of like Europe's busiest, hello dogs, even to some of Europe's busiest cities, like, you know, Venice and Dubrovnik, they never felt quite as busy as they do now. Like nowadays, if you go to those cities, it feels like sort of being in a sad mosh pit.
In recent years, overtourism seems to be absolutely battering Europe's most well-known cities, and while residents of these towns have always begrudged tourists a little bit, I should know, I live in London, in recent years that resentment appears to be reaching a boiling point. Overtourism not only annoys locals, but runs the risk of damaging everything from ecosystems to World Heritage sites, while also placing tremendous strain on infrastructure. And one city down in Catalonia, which is part of Spain but also somewhat autonomous, and I don't want to get into it, is currently struggling with exactly this problem. It's called Barcelona. I don't know if you've heard of it.
It's an amazing city with unique sights, incredible weather, and even a beach in the middle of the city. But as a result, Barcelona's tourist numbers are absolutely ridiculous.
Since the 1990s, the number of tourists in the city has grown rapidly, as its veil of industry as a major port town was lifted to reveal the city's wild cultural history, from Gaudi's genuinely astonishing Sagrada Familia to a bunch of other mad stuff that Gaudi also designed. And also Barcelona Football Club, who I believe are playing Valencia tonight, so I've got to go find a bar to watch that in. And also there are loads of funiculars and cable cars, yay! According to Barcelona's own tourist board, almost 26 million people visited Barcelona overnight in 2023. This is still behind cities like Rome and way behind Paris, the undisputed champion of overtourism with almost 50 million visitors in 2023. But when you consider that Barcelona's population is just 1.5 million, 26 million gatecrashers sounds pretty daunting. As King Felipe and Mariano Rajoy will tell you, Catalans are quite a passionate bunch and like making their opinions known, and thus do not hide their disdain for foreign visitors, with anti-tourism graffiti dotted across Barcelona and even the occasional protest breaking out. I should say that these are always peaceful and are usually directed at the local government's inaction over the issue rather than the visitors themselves. And this might be because the authorities of Barcelona are a little odd. Most cities suffering from overtourism might use blanket solutions, and these could be anything from more low-key tactics such as advertising responsible tourism, to more severe restrictions such as reducing the number of hotels in the area, to the most extreme legislation such as taxing tourists who enter the region, or even capping the number of people who can visit and refusing entry to others. I'm looking at you, Venice. But Barcelona's authorities love that tourist money. They made 12 billion euros of it in 2023, and so they've come up with a, I guess, kind of weird solution. This is the number bus. The bus. The number bus. What is going on with this beep? Who's controlling this? Oh, look here, I've got an unread email. Dear Gabe, don't you dare mention the name of this bus. We know where you live. Blah, blah, blah. Kneecapping. Blah, blah, blah. Drowning. Love and kisses, Joan Laporta. Oh, I don't like the sound of any of that. Right, well I guess I'm not allowed to say the number of this adorable little bus, because in April 2024, Barcelona's local government took the unprecedented step of straight up removing it from Google and Apple Maps, in the hopes that doing so would deter tourists who are seeking to use it as a way of getting around town. It runs between... Oh, come on, even that gets beeped. Nobody who's not from Barcelona is going to know these places. I'm just going to say them. It runs between...
Escorial, Sant Lluís.
And...
Baixada de la Glòria.
Across the...
Gràcia.
And...
La Salut.
Neighbourhoods, and connects, kind of, a residential area of the city centre and Parc Güell, one of Gaudi's great architectural masterpieces and one of the city's most popular sites. Shout out to my Catalan friend Julia for pronouncing those for me. The bus has become something of a cause célèbre for anti-tourist activists in the city, as it only runs these absolutely tiny minibus models and is mainly designed to help residents, and particularly elderly ones, navigate the residential Gràcia and La Salut neighbourhoods. These little buses are called neighbourhood buses, though in Catalan it's the much more fun Bus del Barri, and they literally fit about 20 people on them, so there's no real space for tourists to use them at all. But in the run-up to the ban, this bus was frequently cited by Google and Apple Maps as the most direct route up to Parc Güell from the Gràcia district, and as a result, tourists would absolutely pile into these tiny buses and fill them to capacity. Locals would complain that even those with wheelchairs or walking sticks would often be made to wait for multiple buses before being able to get on, which not only speaks volumes about the overtourism the line is experiencing, but in my opinion says something pretty damning about the tourists who are using it. After 1,500 of the local residents signed a petition, The local government upped the frequency of the buses on the route, but even this didn't work. So eventually they took the weird and radical step of asking Google and Apple to remove the route from their maps and attempted to erase it from many search engines. Albert Battier, the deputy mayor of security and coexistence on the city council, wow, what a weird job title that is, said, "We need to eliminate all references to the bus route online."
Despite this, Barcelona City Council never actually said whether or not it contacted Google and Apple to have the bus removed from the maps. But then, speaking to The Guardian, Google said that it would only ever do that if a government asked it to. So I suppose they must have done, right?
And it has actually worked. If you go on Google Maps and search for buses to Parkwell, this bus route actually doesn't show up. Even if you select the exact stops that the route starts and ends at, Google will send you in a different direction. And this has been great for the locals. One resident told The Guardian that he was skeptical of the idea at first, but that he's, quote, amazed that the measure has been so effective. According to an article in El Diario, the hordes of tourists waiting for the bus dwindled literally overnight after the ban was enacted.
So, I mean, this is all great for the locals, right? The tourists don't have to use the bus anymore. This isn't it, by the way. This is the H6. This is not the bus I'm talking about. But the tourists don't have to use the bus anymore. And anyway, they could just walk to Parkwell. It's only 10 minutes from where the bus starts. And the locals have their bus back, right?
Well, not really. According to some Barcelona residents, while it's been surprisingly effective at reducing congestion on that one bus route, it's very much putting a plaster on an amputation. For a start, it has just forced tourists onto other bus routes which were already crowded. These include the 24 and V19 services. And while these routes run much larger, more frequent buses that are more capable of handling high passenger loads, it's still just a case of rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, and these small legislative changes are not going to solve Barcelona's overtourism problem. But for decades now, Barcelona has been standing at a fork in the road and is unsure what to do next. While it could enact more draconian measures to reverse the damage done by tourism and placate the natives, there's no getting around the fact that Barcelona and tourism are now inextricably linked, and the local government doesn't want to kill the cash cow that it has inadvertently created. The city is now over-reliant on foreign visitors. 150,000 people work in its tourism sector, and the industry accounts for 14% of the city's GDP. By comparison, tourism makes up just 3.5% of Paris's GDP. And while it may present a major headache for the city now, that's also to say nothing of the benefits that tourism can bring. Catalonia's GDP has almost doubled in the last 20 years, and the city has transformed from a fairly industrial harbour town to a bustling epicentre for the arts, music, food and nightlife. But as Catalan writer, and God help me with this pronunciation, Xavier Masterchachas put it, Barcelona's cultural identity is at risk if tourist mitigation is not enacted. And even then it may not be saved. Even the most extreme moves, like Venice's decision to charge tourists a fee to enter the city, apparently hasn't really worked at all.
So, I don't know. I found a cool website called responsibletravel.com, which says that if you do want to visit Barcelona, then you should do it outside of the high season, which is May to September, and also Easter. And I'm here in January, which is why I'm in Park Güell, and it's completely empty. So I feel like I'm doing my part, while also not helping at all. And the moral of the story really is, if you want to come to Barcelona, just don't get on that bus. Use any other bus. I didn't even get here using that bus. I went and filmed it, and then I had to take some ridiculous other route because I wanted to stick to my principles and not use it. And that's the end of the video, really.
But as Catalan writer Xavier Masterchachas, or Xavier Masterchachas? What? But as Catalan writer Xavier Masterchachas put it, fucking hell. But as Catalan writer Xavier Masterchachas, it's like a fucking joke. But as Catalan writer Xavier Masterchachas put, but as